Star Wars fans, imagine if Darth Revan, the legendary Sith who turned to the Jedi and redefined the very essence of the Force, suddenly crashed back into the canon storyline. With rumors swirling all over X about a potential Knights of the Old Republic series, could this iconic figure truly reshape the galaxy as we know it? If that idea has your mind completely blown, go ahead and like this video right now. We're about to dive deep into the lore that could change everything. Welcome back to the Nightmare. I'm the Lore Knight, your host, galactic storyteller, artist, and seeker of the lore. Alongside me is SQR3. And if you're as deeply hooked on the ancient tales of the galaxy far, far away as I am, then today's video is going to feel like a hyperspace jump into the abyss. Darth Revan isn't just any character. This is the ultimate enigma. A figure who's masterfully danced between the light and dark sides of the Force in ways that no one else ever has. With fresh whispers circulating on X about Revan potentially starring in a new Star Wars series inspired by Knights of the Old Republic, fans are absolutely losing their minds. And for very good reason. In this video, we're going to go all in on the captivating what-if scenario, unpacking Revan's rich lore, exploring why a return could be truly epic, and discussing what it might mean for the entire saga moving forward. Let's begin with the fundamentals for any newcomers tuning in. But trust me, even veterans should stick around, because we're about to go incredibly deep. Revan first exploded onto the scene in the groundbreaking 2003 video game Knights of the Old Republic. Often abbreviated as KOTOR, this story is set a staggering 4,000 years before the events of A New Hope, during the tumultuous era of the Old Republic, where massive Jedi vs. Sith battles were raging across the stars, Mandalorians were launching brutal invasions, and the entire galaxy was plunged into unrelenting turmoil. Revan begins as a prodigious Jedi Knight who boldly defies the Jedi Council to fight back against the Mandalorians, only to become corrupted by the dark side, rise as a formidable Sith Lord, and then, in one of the most jaw-dropping twists in gaming history, achieve redemption. Now, to provide some historical context, this era draws heavily from ancient galactic myths, such as the Hundred-Year Darkness. When exiled Jedi first transformed into the original Sith, Lucasfilm had already canonized certain elements, like Revan's distinctive mask appearing in visual res from The Rise of Skywalker. But a full integration into the main canon, that's precisely the buzz that's got everyone talking right now. You might think Revan is just a relic from an old video game, but that's far from the truth. Fans are talking non-stop with theories about potential tie into Ahsoka's mysterious world of Peridia, or even the mystical elements in The Mandalorian, like the Mythosaur. Let's break it all down step by step. Now, to expand on this further, we'll trace Revan's journey in detail. It starts with Revan as a Jedi Knight during the devastating Mandalorian Wars, which were essentially brutal crusades that tested the Republic's very survival. Revan, alongside his close ally Malak, leads a defiant charge against the Council's orders, and they discover the insidious influence of Sith Emperor Vitiate along the way. This leads to a tragic fall to the dark side, where Revan conquers vast territories with a seemingly infinite fleet. Then comes the amnesia-driven plot twist in KOTOR. Imagine waking up one day and realizing you've forgotten that you're the galaxy's biggest badass. That's gotta be the ultimate case of a rough Monday morning. On the fan theory front, many believe Revan's gender-neutral storyline, which remains canonically flexible, symbolizes the perfect embodiment of Force balance, much like the gods depicted in the Mortis arc. As a side tangent, let's consider the Old Republic's profound influence on modern Star Wars storytelling. Games like Star Wars The Old Republic have expanded Revan's shadow through elements like descendants and lingering holocrons that continue to appear in various tales. Now, we've seen canon nods such as Revan's cult mentioned in books like Shadow of the Sith. If Revan were to make a full return, it could bridge the gap between Legends material and current canon in a seamless and exciting way. Comment below with Revan redeemed if you see Revan as a hero, or Revan Sith if the dark side calls to you. What's your personal take on this character? Now, with all that set up in mind, you might be wondering why Revan hasn't made a comeback yet. Well, rumors are heating up, so let's dissect the canon barriers and explore the thrilling potential ahead. Revan's lore is an absolute treasure trove of storytelling gold, but it's been locked away in the Legends category for years, with that stupid gold band. Why is that the case, and could those doors finally be cracking open? Let's embark on a thorough lore dive into the hurdles standing in the way. Now, to dive into this, we need to understand the landscape after Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm, which led to the Legends materials being put aside to pave the way for fresh, interconnected stories. Revan, as a result, remains trapped in that non canon limbo, even though there have been intriguing teases along the way. At its core, there's a philosophical chasm here. Revan perfectly embodies gray morality, where the Jedi often come across as too rigid and the Sith overly chaotic. In the established canon, characters like Qui-Gon Jinn flirt with the shades of gray, but Revan's complete arc pushes those boundaries even further. Another factor is the sheer scale of the Old Republic era, with its eternal Sith Empire clashing against the Republic in ways that dwarf the conflicts of the Empire era that we know so well. For key examples, consider Star Wars The Old Republic, where Revan's spirit lingers on, even splitting into distinct light and dark essences. It's not a true Force ghost, but it's remarkably close, and it ties neatly into the themes that we explored in our last video about Sith immortality. Here's a step-by-step breakdown of the barriers. First, the timeline isolation makes it challenging. 4,000 years in the past means connections require clever narrative tricks without resorting to time travel. Second, the power scaling is immense. Revan's feats, like mind-controlling entire fleets, would make even Palpatine seem like an amateur by comparison. Third, there's the narrative risk involved. Could Revan's presence overshadow the current heroes in the saga? If Revan suddenly showed up in the modern era, Yoda's ghost might say, "Outdone I have been. Time to retire now, I must." Shifting to fan theories, some speculate that ancient statues on Peridea and Ahsoka could hint at entities like Abeloth or other primordial Sith, and Revan has battled similar forces in the past. To add historical context, BioWare's KOTOR was built on George Lucas's own notes about the ancient Jedi-Sith wars, giving it a foundational authenticity. As a side tangent, the Mandalorian Wars featured horrifying atrocities, including genocide and the deployment of super weapons, which mirror real-world historical events like the Mongol invasions, and adds layers of grim depth to the narrative. If you want to see Revan officially canonized, give this video a like right now, and don't forget to subscribe for more uncovers of ancient lore. I appreciate your support immensely and read all of your comments. With those barriers in perspective, let's suspend disbelief for just a moment and imagine if Revan does break through. What kind of madness or mastery might ensue in the galaxy? If Revan were to make a triumphant return, could it shatter the established canon into pieces? Or would it weave together the ultimate narrative tapestry? Whether it's a nightmare of chaos or a nirvana of storytelling, let's speculate on both sides. First, let's explore the madness scenario, where Revan returns as a formidable villain, perhaps resurrected through an ancient Sith ritual that unleashes horrors from the Old Republic era. This could involve intense psychological warfare, with Revan using advanced tricks to infiltrate and amplify doubts among modern Jedi across the galaxy. It might create a massive galactic power vacuum as Revan's superior fleet technology gets revived, sparking conflicts that lead to eternal war. The step-by-step breakdown might sound something like this. It begins with an artifact awakening Revan's essence, followed by a subtle influence on key figures like Thrawn, and then the light and dark split within Revan causing widespread schisms. And finally, the galaxy fracturing under the strain. For a historical parallel, think of Exar Kun's lingering spirit haunting future generations. Revan could possess holocrons in a similar way, but on a much grander scale. On the fan theory side, many envision Revan as an anti-hero, mentoring others in the ways of the Grey Force to challenge traditional beliefs. Now, flipping to the counterpoint, what if Revan's return serves as a balanced echo in the Force? In this view, Revan could act like a wise mentor, guiding the galaxy towards true equilibrium and countering the extremes of both sides. This might create a negative feedback loop where Revan's presence highlights the Jedi flaws and spurs necessary evolution. To revisit a key location like Taris, the infamous bombardment there serves as a stark metaphor for the devastating costs of war, extending to the fragility of peace in current canon. As a side tangent, we can draw an analogy from real physics. Revan is like a quantum particle in the Force, existing in both light and dark states simultaneously. This provocative idea suggests that Revan might be necessary for genuine cosmic equilibrium, preventing an overwhelming dominance by the light side. Drop a comment below with chaos if you see the destructive return, or balance if you think it would harmonize the saga. Share this video with your KOTOR-loving friends. While a full return hasn't happened yet, there are already intriguing echoes of Revan in the canon. Let's explore those subtle whispers and what they may foreshadow. Beyond the lore and rumors, Revan has left an indelible mark on Star Wars culture. How has this character inspired fans, and what creative explosions might a return ignite? Let's celebrate the community side of this legend. Revan's impact extends far beyond the games and books. His character has become a cultural phenomenon within the Star Wars fandom. Fans have created countless mods, fan films, and artwork depicting Revan's adventures, often exploring alternate timelines where the light-dark duality plays out in new ways. For example, fans on Reddit and X host ongoing role-playing games and debates about Revan's moral choices, keeping the spirit alive even in legend status. Historical context here: since KOTOR's release, Revan has influenced character designs in other media, with echoes and figures who straddle moral lines, like certain bounty hunters or rogue Jedi in expanded stories. Fans dissect Revan's decisions in forums, they produce fanfiction expanding the lore, and conventions feature Revan cosplays that bring the character to life. Then the petitions start rolling for canon inclusion, and it gains traction online. If Revan inspired a fan convention, it'd be half Jedi meditation sessions and half Sith lightning dance parties. Talk about balanced entertainment. Some believe Revan's ambiguity has paved the way for more nuanced characters in canon, encouraging stories that avoid simple good versus evil tropes. In broader pop culture, Revan parallels anti-heroes like Geralt from The Witcher, blending heroism and moral complexity. This section highlights how Revan's potential return wouldn't just affect the storyline, but could revitalize fan engagement on a massive scale. Comment your favorite Revan fan creation below, whether it's art, fanfic, or a mod. Building on that cultural legacy, let's now examine the Proto echoes already present and speculate on the future of the lore. Even without a full return, canon is already testing Revan through holocrons, masks, and cults. So what do these mean, and what's on the horizon for this enduring legend? To analyze these proto-echoes, consider how Revan's mask appears in visual dictionaries, or how cults dedicated to Revan are referenced in the novels. These are bound to artifacts rather than free-roaming spirits. Their limitations are clear, they're often tied to specific locations, unlike the omnipresent nature of the true Force Jedi ghosts like Yoda's. For another example, Darth Bane's role of two was influenced by Revan's holocron in Legends material, showing how ideas persist. It starts with Revan's apparent death in Star Wars: The Old Republic, where the spirit persists in fragmented forms. Then it influences descendants or artifacts. Canon subtly nods via places like Malachor and Rebels. And finally, these echoes fade unless amplified by new stories. Revan's mask isn't just a fashion statement, it's more like a soul trap. On the fan theory side, some predict that in an upcoming series, Revan could appear as a holographic guide, mentoring from afar. Looking to the future, post-2025 projects like the Mandalorian movie could expand the Old Republic era, blurring the lines between Legends and canon even more. The narrative potential is enormous. We could see deeper explorations of the struggle for personal identity amid galactic conflicts, along with the grim consequences of power. In conclusion, this what-if surrounding Revan fuels the endless possibilities that make Star Wars so captivating. Revan's potential return is lore-rich, fueled by rumors, and could be utterly game-changing for the franchise, especially if you cast Keanu Reeves. Your watch time truly powers this channel. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications. I'll see you in the comments.